those babies that are aborted and murdered, they're with the Lord. And somebody asked me about what happens to those babies that are aborted. You'll have to come back this Sunday to find out. It's a great question. Where they go. And if they go to heaven, what are they going to do in the heavenly kingdom? So we'll look at that. That's just a cliffhanger. In thy book, verse 16, all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned. You see that? There's a process. 9 months in that womb, 36 weeks there. Going. When as yet there was none of them. When he says when as yet there was none of them, he's talking about from the conception. See, at conception, you just got, the people look like, oh, it's just a little piece of meat. But what David said, I was a person, although I didn't have arms and legs and feet and all that. It wasn't formed yet, but it was me. That was me. Those are babies at conception. The soul is conceived at conception. It's not a piece of meat. It's a baby. It's a person. It is a human soul made in the image and likeness of God. And everybody who aborts their child, murders their child, and they die outside of the blood of Christ, God will hold them accountable for murder there. Everybody involved. The people who made the choice, the doctors who did it, the nurses who had a part, anybody who's lost and not covered with the blood of Christ is going to pay for that murder. They're accessory to murder. About 7 minutes. We're going to look at these 4 verses because I want you to see that God created everything to destroy Satan. Get Jeremiah 4, Isaiah 24, and Proverbs chapter 8. Jeremiah chapter 4. Go there real quick. We're going to finish here. Jeremiah chapter 4, look at verse 23. Jeremiah 4:23, I beheld the earth, and lo, it was without form and void, and the heavens, they had no light. I beheld the mountains, and lo, they trembled, and all the hills moved lightly. I beheld, and lo, there was no man, and all the birds of the heavens were fled, and beheld. What Isaiah is looking at is a future time called the tribulation period. In fact, he's looking at the exact end of that thing. That when he looks across Israel, because of the darkness and the gloomy darkness and the wrath of God, what he sees, it looks just like the earth looked as it sat in judgment there before God recreated things in Genesis. He uses the same words, without form and void. He's not looking back here. He's looking right here, when the Lord comes back. That's how gloom and darkness and wrath coming, okay? I want you to see that. Isaiah 24. Go back to Isaiah 24. And we got to get this passage in Job, because he's going to tell Job that that's why he created everything, to defeat Satan. You know, you wonder why God allows Satan to do stuff, because God has a plan to fix it. And when he created the earth and the heavens, it was all according to plan so that he can defeat Satan at the end. We're going to look at it. Isaiah chapter, what I tell you, 24? Look at verse 1. Behold, the Lord maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattered abroad the inhabitants thereof. Again, this is a future time when God is going to destroy Satan's people, the wicked, okay? Now, we got 5 minutes. We're going to look at 2 passages, because he's about to tell Job, who's being persecuted. His name means persecuted, just like he's telling Israel right here. They say, how long, O Lord, when you're not going to avenge us on the Antichrist? He's killing us. He says, be patient, because I got a purpose for it. I got a purpose. I created this heaven and this earth to take care of everything. Just trust me. See, that's what he's going to say. Proverbs 8 and Job 38. Proverbs 8, Job 38. Let's look at Proverbs 8 first, and then Job 38, and then we'll conclude. Proverbs chapter 8, look at verse 22. The Lord possessed me in the beginning of his ways, before his works of old. This is the wisdom of God. I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, or ever the earth was. When there was no depths, I was brought forth. When there was no foundations abounding with water. What God is doing, he's about to form the heaven and the earth, specifically the earth here, but he has a plan. Like any good man who builds something, he has a plan. Just like you wouldn't expect guys to just start constructing a building without a plan. Well, God had a plan for everything, and he started to construct things the way he wanted. It's interesting. Christ was a carpenter. He was a woodworker. Verse 25, before the mountains were settled, before the hills was I brought forth. While as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When God prepared the heavens, he had a plan, his wisdom. When he set a compass upon the face of the depth, God measured the waters. When he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the foundations of the deep, when he gave to the sea his decree that the water should not pass his commandment, when he appointed the foundations of the earth. Look here. When you look at the water, the earth is 75% water. Why doesn't that water just overtake all of the earth? It could. You know why? I remember driving down Lakeshore Drive in Chicago, and you just look, the Lake Michigan goes as far as the eye can see there. And you just look, and the water stopped right there. Every once in a while, the wind blow a little bit. But why don't it flood downtown Chicago like a tsunami was? Now, that stuff happens because of the corruption. But why doesn't that happen all the time? Because look what he says. He gave the waters a commandment, says, here's your boundary. Don't go by there. Don't go past there. What keeps the waters from overflooding the whole earth is because God holds them back. He gave them a command, stay there. And they do. Go with me to Job chapter 38. Here's your homework. Read Job 38, 39, 40. If you want to see the dinosaurs, you're going to find them in Job. Look at Job 38. And we conclude. Job 38, look at 1 through 7. Job is saying, why am I going through this? Why am I persecuted, Lord? And then God sends him back to think like he created a man to think. And here's where we land. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind. It's a natural, supernatural, natural whirlwind. We'd call it a tornado. And said, who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee and answer thou me. He's not saying be a man, like get up and be a man. He's saying stand on your feet and be the man that I created man to be. Think about what I'm going to say, Job. Job was wondering why God let him go through all of these troubles. And God says, I got a plan. And we'll end here. Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding. Well, where was Job when God laid the foundation? Wasn't there. He laid the foundations. Who hath laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest? Or who hath stretched the line upon it? You see all of these things he did? Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? Or who laid the cornerstone thereof? When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy. The angels watch him do this thing because they knew that God was going to one day defeat Satan.